started? Even if we are 1 minute ahead of schedule, I'd rather be a little ahead than behind. If you're on time, you're late. I'd like to call the meeting to order. We're going to skip around on this agenda just a little bit. So if you will bear with me, you'll have to pay attention to where we're going. The first bill I'd like to call up, Senate Bill 2645. This is the Mississippi Department of Transportation Design Bill Requirement Revision. The purpose of the bill is to provide an extra tool to the Department of Transportation to allow the agency to deliver projects sooner and less expensive by mitigating the risk on the front end. And it does a couple of things. The first thing it does, it updates the publication requirements you'll see on line 26 of the bill. And the second thing that it does, it revises the design build requirements to allow for alternative methods of delivery on line 167 rather. And you'll see the new language back on line 167. And it goes all the way through line 205. Now, just to give you some background, the other states that utilize these alternative delivery methods include Tennessee, Arkansas, Alabama, Indiana, and Kentucky. And so I feel like over time that we as a state, we have missed out on potentially some economic development opportunities because we don't have this tool in our toolbox. The couple of economic development projects that we did land earlier this year, we had to put specific legislation in those packages to make sure that these tools were available for the Department of Transportation. So my thought on this is, as I have studied it, why don't we just make this state law? If it's good and it helps us on the economic development front, we should just make this part of the way we do business every day, or to give the Department of Transportation the ability to make this one of their one of the options. So it will give the Department of Transportation needed flexibility to speed to market. You know, speed to market is everything in economic development. So that's what this bill is about. Happy to yield for questions. Got a motion of title sufficient to pass. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, that bill will be reported. I need to repeat that motion. That should have been title sufficient to pass committee sub. Do I hear that motion? Okay, let's do that again. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, thank you for that. That'll be reported. Next, let's call up Senate Bill 2644. This is the Harvest Permit License Tag Bill. This is mainly just some cleanup language from 2 years ago when we came in and we revised the harvest permit, the weights that could be offered under that. We're not proposing any new weight limits or anything. In that legislation 2 years ago, I failed to recognize the need to bring forward the code sections under the weight chart. The Department of Revenue relies on that when they are providing the tags. So that's simply what we're doing, or the first prong of the bill, lines 61 and 66. We're just bringing forward the code sections and adding in the weight that we passed 2 years ago. The second thing that this bill does, it allows harvest permit tag purchasers the ability to receive the 3% credit that the apportioned tag holders receive. And I honestly didn't realize that harvest permit tag holders were not allowed to receive the 3% credit as the apportioned tag holder. So you will see this language in line 479. And that's the explanation of this bill. Happy to yield for questions. Yes, Senator Harkins, you're recognized for a question.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. What was the, on line 50, what was the existing weight? I guess line 50 and line 61 is where it changes. Is it changed to 88,000 pounds?
So it used to be 84,000 pounds. Okay. And 2 years ago, we increased that to 88,000, but I just failed to bring this part of the code section forward 2 years ago.
Thank you.
Thank you. Other questions? Do I have a motion? All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, that bill will be reported and it is double referred to the Finance Committee. Next up, we will take Senate Bill 2635. The purpose of this bill is to address a practice in our state called predatory towing in the commercial motor vehicle industry. And this bill does several things. It actually creates within the Department of Public Safety a commercial vehicle towing advisory committee. This language is found in sections 2 and 3. The committee will oversee the establishment of fair rates as well as protest and possible unfair towing incidents. And really, just to bring to your attention, what is the problem that we're trying to solve? Mississippi was recently identified by the American Transportation Research Institute as the 3rd worst state in the U.S. for predatory towing practices. And I knew that it took place, but I did not realize where we ranked nationally. So to further clarify, predatory towing has been defined as any incident in which a towing company egregiously overcharges, illegally seizes assets, damages assets by use of improper towing equipment, or illegitimately without release of a truck, trailer, and/or cargo. And so this bill only refers to the predatory towing in the context of non-consensual tows. There's 2 different kinds of tows. There's a consensual tow where you as the owner of the vehicle may call and request that your vehicle be towed. You have the ability at that point to negotiate the rates and whatnot. But when there is a non-consensual tow, when law enforcement is involved, or if there is a vehicle left on property without permission, sometimes you see properties where there's a posted sign where no overnight vehicles and that kind of thing. In that instance, that would be a non-consensual tow. That's what this bill seeks to regulate, the non-consensual towing. We've had instances in our state where companies have picked up vehicles in a non-consensual manner and then have charged rates that are just astronomical for the trucking companies to retrieve their vehicle back. And I can tell you case after case after case, but we won't go into it unless you have specific questions. But let's just say the Truckers Association feels that there is an imminent need that we address this, and we do so pretty swiftly. We go ahead and start the process. Now, part of this will entail the advisory committee that will be comprised of several individuals, and I'll take you to that language so that you can see who will sit on this committee. Section 2, it begins on line 74 of the bill. And so on this advisory committee, you're going to have the Department of Public Safety. Now, for your information, you're going to see reference to the Department of Transportation in this bill. I'm going to make an amendment that clarifies it's the Department of Public Safety. So I'll do those cleanup amendments in just a few minutes. So you'll have DPS involved, Highway Patrol involved, 2 members of the towing and recovery services industry. And I will tell you, the towing industry is interested in having this conversation. There are some really good tow companies in our state. There are some really good companies that do things the right way. This is for the companies that don't. This is to address the bad actors. Also, members of the commercial motor carriers within the state and local police jurisdictions. So you can see that the bill brings all the necessary players to the table for the advisory committee, which will then seek to put rules and regulations together. Okay, the advisory board to know how we're going to work going forward, what this will look like. It puts in a process for grievances to be established in the event there is a wrongful tow and the owner of the vehicle needs a place to log that grievance. Well, there's going to be a process put into place through this. And the advisory board has until January of 2025 to get their stuff in order so that we know what the final rules and regulations will be. I know that's a lot of information. At this point, I'd like to yield for any questions the committee may have. Senator Williams.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Is this similar to what other states are doing that don't seem to have the problem that we do?
Yes. We have been looking at other states' legislation to pull this together to make sure that we're seeing everything. This, as you know, we're very early in the process. This is a work in progress. So if you have any suggestions or anything that you see other states are doing that you like, bring it to my attention and we'll take a look at it.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Senator Barrett for a question.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Will this address as well as the impounding fees? I see that it deals with charges directly or indirectly. And I'm not quite familiar with the process of of storing a commercial vehicle, but I'm assuming that they take them to impound lots.
That's my understanding as well. And so what this is designed to do is to allow that advisory committee to make some of those decisions and talk about that. Because if you look at the composition of the committee, all of the people that have the knowledge of the industry, both from the towing side to the law enforcement side, the truckers and everything in between, you'll all be able to sit down and determine what is fair, what is reasonable, and what should be done with all of the direct fees as well as those indirect impound fees as you described.
Thank you.
Thank you. Other questions? I do need to clarify a couple of things. So at this point, I'm going to need a motion throughout the bill to replace the Department of Public Safety with DPS in every place located in the bill. Do I hear a motion? I've got a motion on the floor with that. All in favor for that amendment? Any opposed? All right, the next amendment that I'd like someone to help me make this motion. On line 45, there is a typo. It says politics and it should say police. It's just I read that and I thought that's probably not what we're trying to do here. On line 45, it's supposed to say police initiated towing. So do I hear a motion for that amendment? All in favor? Okay. The other amendment that I think we need to talk about is, again, just a typo. Section 3 is mentioned 2 different times. The first section 3 is on line 110. And again, I did not catch this. Well, our very, very studious counsel has notified me. She's already fixed all of these things. I am not looking at the committee sub. I apologize to the committee. So at this moment, I'll entertain a motion for title sufficient to pass. Committee sub, all in favor? Any opposed? All right, that will be reported. Thank you, Allison. She always does a great job and keeps me in line over here. All right. Let's move to Senate Bill 2060. All right, this is just a memorial highway bill. This Senate Bill 2060 is an act to designate the Little Biloxi Bridge on Highway 49 in Harrison County as the Willie E. King Memorial Bridge in memory of late World War II infantryman Willie Edward King. The purpose of the committee sub here is we just added a reverse repealer, and I know I had talked to many of you about trying to do an omnibus bill for the Memorial Highway and bridges, and it did not work out because the House was not taking that approach. And so I didn't want to deny our members over here that same opportunity. So with the reverse repealer, this will allow this bill to stay alive as long as possible. So other members, I know I've got at least 2 in mind that are waiting to get information from their people back home from Memorial Highways. I want them to have the opportunity to get those in toward the end of session. So do I hear a motion on this? All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, that one will be reported. Senate Bill 2634. This is another Memorial Highway bill to designate a portion in Shannon, Lee County as the Johnny R. Patterson Memorial Highway. Now, on this bill, we try to keep the length of the highways to 1 mile. So at this point, I have spoken with Senator Bryan about this, and I think that he's been very gracious and understands this. So at this point, I'd like to entertain a motion on line 8 to revise this from 2 miles to 1 mile. Thank you, Senator Bryan. All in favor? Any opposed? All right, back on the bill. Do I hear your motion on the bill? All in favor? Any opposition? Okay, that will be reported as well. Senate Bill 2636. This is an act to place memorial marker at or near the Clay Street exit in Vicksburg in memory of late firefighter and paramedic Jared Squire and EMT Derrico Davis. That's a very simple explanation. Do I hear a motion? Any opposed? All right, that will be reported. The last bill. Got one more, Senate Bill 2643. An act to designate segment of Highway 8 that extends through Grenada County as the William Winter Memorial Highway in memory of the late former Governor William Forrest Winter. This one has the same concern, and I'm supportive of the bill, but we just want to be consistent with everybody's bill. So at this point, I'd like to entertain a motion on line 8, after the word east, we're going to add the words 1 mile. Do I hear a motion for that? All right, all in favor of that? Any opposed? Now we're back on the bill. Do I have a motion on the bill as amended? All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, that will be reported. Do I have a final motion? Thank you.